right. Mid-South Lumber, the biggest little lumber yard in Panama City.
When summer comes to a close on the loveliest village on the plains, our family gathers again just as we have for the last 131 years. Unrivaled traditions.
Get out your toilet paper. Toomer's Corner is going to be buried tonight.
The craziest atmosphere.
You're not going to keep them off the field tonight.
Unforgettable moments.
Display and believe. Let's go play ball.
That's Auburn being Auburn.
Your home for the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida advertisers get results. Here's MaxFit Sports Nutrition owner Jason Kovaleski.
So if you're looking to advertise or if you have a small business and you're looking to drive traffic to your store, check out ESPN 104.3 with Coach James Hale Show. I've been working with them for 7 years. They've driven a lot of traffic to my business. I get people all the time in my store that say, hey, I've heard you're on the radio. It's one thing to advertise on the radio where people may hear it. It's another thing to be able to come on, talk to your customers directly. It's just one of the best form of advertisements I did, and I've gotten great returns off of it. So if you're looking for some form of advertisement to drive traffic, check out Coach Hale Show on ESPN. Contact Coach Hale, and he'll hook you up and get you started in the right direction and get you a lot more business.
Get results for your business. Call ESPN Northwest Florida. 850-215-4468. 850-215-4468.
The Braves are absolutely rolling through the National League with some of the biggest wins and epic moments of the year.
2-2 to Matt, and a rocket to right field. This thing is into orbit. That's on the roof of the Chop House.
Tonight, the Braves are back in town as they brought the Big Apple back with them, facing off against the New York Yankees live from Truist Park.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch at 6:20. On your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
And the Braves are back in front.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John, ESPN Northwest Florida. Get ready.
Deep center field and heading for the horizon.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
Onion pickles, onions pickles.
The Afternoon Underdogs
Way back and gone.
on ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You're now in the doghouse, and you are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad, and we've got Bone Crusher in the building with us as well on this beautiful but extremely hot out there Monday afternoon. What'd you do to cool down this weekend?
Well, I'm starting to think that Al Gore guy may have been right.
Oh, goodness. All right. Feels like a 7 a.m. and not
Trust
4
me,
p.m. right now.
No, I actually had to go over to, went over to New Orleans. We did a card show for PCB Hobby. And so I was over there, and, on the way back, I got to see the part of the interstate that was on fire and shut down traffic. And then.
Oh, wow. You were on the interstate for that?
And then I stopped in Biloxi and lit some money on fire. So. That was my weekend.
Not great luck.
Wasn't that great.
Oh, well.
That's
you did pretty good last time, though.
I did. Yeah, I gave a little back. Yeah.
Pretty good last time. No doubt about it. Give us a call, 850-215-6290, or you can text as well. We are full for our fantasy football leagues, but I'll still take I think I've got 3 more spots as far as waiting list goes, and how that'll work. If I get word from anyone that they're not able to make it, or the day of they're not there, then I will be hitting you up on the fly. I mean, like, hey, you want to make this happen or not? But yeah, so I'll be filling out the leagues this week. More than likely tomorrow we'll have I'll let everyone know what leagues they're going to be playing in, and who they're going to be playing against. It should be a lot of fun. The live drafts, as far as I know, going to be out there. David Buster's, August 26th, 11 a.m. I've been looking for confirmation. Haven't absolutely had confirmation yet, but we will let you guys know of anything that changes in the waning moments. Preseason AP poll dropped today. The All-Americans dropped today. We'll dive into that more than likely hour number 2, but I could see a world where me and Brian just get off onto a tangent, and that takes us into the preseason AP poll. Really nothing about it stood out to me, but we'll get some thoughts and takeaways here from Brian as we move on. Tennessee announced today that the College of Communication and Information has got Peyton Manning as a professor of practice in the fall 2023. He's going to be joining select classes during the academic year as a featured expert and work alongside the college's faculty to provide learning experiences for CCI students at Tennessee. One of the coolest parts about this, guess how much he's getting paid?
Every bit he's worth.
Well, he's doing it as a volunteer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a pretty cool story.
No, it is. And look, Peyton's actually really good.
Yeah.
On television. He was great on Saturday Night Lives. He's been great in all his commercials and different things like that. He actually fits this role better than most, like athletes were. Obviously, it's a PR game, and it's, something that's cool, and good for him. I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I want to make a million Tennessee jokes right now that I'm just going to wait on. But
no, you should.
No, I'm just.
Come on. I mean, I don't think it's going to get any better.
I got to host 3 morning shows this week.
Oh, you got to
save them. So.
Yeah, there you go. It won't get any worse than Michigan Eddie, or any better, I guess I could say, than Michigan Eddie's call last Monday, where he just
that's true.
hates the whole entire state of Oregon, though. So if you can top that call again, call the Afternoon Underdogs 850-215-6290.
I did laugh, though. Professor of practice. That's a job made for Allen Iverson.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe we can get him doing some classes down there at Georgetown or something.
That'd be great.
That would be fantastic. But yeah, this will be cool, and we'll see. Obviously, it's not really gonna. This will probably be the last we hear of the story. And outside of maybe some of his little TV shows that he does.
No,
like
but I also remember he Zoom bombed some classes during COVID. That was really funny. That, it was fun because a lot of people aren't, paying. Newsflash, a lot of the students weren't paying attention on Zoom.
Man, that's amazing.
All of a sudden, this guy is up in the corner. It's Peyton Manning's been Peyton the whole time. No one really recognized him. And then he's asking questions. I don't think the professor knew. He was like given the and
he's not like disguised or anything.
No,
he's just in the box as Peyton Manning.
He just kind of. No, I don't think he had his name up.
Okay. But it's just, so he's there in picture.
But once he started talking and like asking questions, a lot of people figured it out, and it was like kind of cool and like that. So it was actually it was one of those neat things that was going on during a really rough time. So good for him. I wish it was at a real school. But what are you going to do?
I don't think it'll top the Chad Powers, Eli Manning over there at Penn State doing that at a live practice and fooling the guys there. Pretty interesting. Did you watch any NFL preseason?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. We're pretty busy over there, but I kind of caught updates here and there. I mean, it's very typical football.
Yeah,
ton of overreactions both ways.
What's one overreaction that maybe you're hearing that you're like, come on?
Oh, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, everybody's going nuts about him. And
he's probably been the most exciting piece of one of the more exciting pieces.
Yeah, and then the latest super hot take is that, Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi are both going to get passed over for Malik Cunningham.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. C.J. Stroud, he can't play quarterback because he missed 4 passes. I mean, Bryce Young is going to be running for his life. That we all knew.
He's not going to have time to run for his life.
Yeah, well, that's true, too. It's just a lot of overreactions.
No doubt.
But that's football. That's what we love about it.
Of course, DTR, I think that's a fun storyline to kind of watch. Yeah, he's a football guy is what it seems like, and he's a smaller fella too, much like Bryce Young is. But obviously, when you're the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, you're going to have a lot more scrutiny headed your way. But Malik Will Levis, not bad preseason outings. I didn't watch I watched the first 3 quarters. Taylor's brother ended up having to actually go to the emergency room due to the heat.
Yeah.
And So I was like, there at the hospital kind of watching a little bit on the phone, but not really able to pay a ton of attention there. But yeah, honestly, Malik Willis opening up the game with a 30-yard pass was like, okay, not expecting that. And then on the flip side of that for the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields 3 of 3 for like 129 yards. And I think the furthest pass he threw was like 5 yards in the air.
He's going to follow the Sam Bradford model of dink and dunk.
Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those guys could get it down.
Sure.
They could attack all three levels of the field.
Bradford made a career out of it. Was a 70% passer basically because of it. But no, that may just be a little more the setup of the team around Fields right now. But that's, it's fine. Basically all you're looking for out of players right now is, some level of general competence and then, improvement as you go. Even your vets, you just want to see a little improvement, as you go through the preseason, and that's really all you're looking for. You're not looking for anybody to be super game sharp right away and everything. So it's.
But with the Tennessee Titans, I think you are in a position of I could care less to see Ryan Tannehill play any game in the preseason because it really is all coming down to who's going to be QB2 and what do we do with the other guy. Unless they're going to figure out a package for Will Levis and Malik Willis and maybe even Ryan Tannehill to all be on the field at the same time.
To me, you never want, as a professional organization with a 53-man roster, to go into a season not really knowing what you have at quarterback.
Yeah.
The Titans don't really know. You can tell that by what they're doing. Otherwise, they would have already moved Willis out or never drafted Levis. Mm-hmm. As it stands, we're basically in let's just kind of see what we got.
Yeah.
Which to me, it's not the National Reaction League. No. You need to be proactive. So I don't know. But the preseason, for all of its faults, it actually will provide the Titans some level of a chance to see what they do have at quarterback. Unfortunately, they didn't expend any first-round capital on either of those two guys. So, you've got Levis as a second-rounder. Malik was, a third or a fourth? I can't even remember.
Third.
Yeah, so they're going to give Malik a shot. Levis has a chance to impress. We're going to find out, probably. It would not... They're going to need 3, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them got shipped out. More likely Malik at the end of the preseason, and they picked up a journeyman as a third stringer. I don't know.
Yeah, I could absolutely see him doing that. Yeah. I like what Malik Willis brings mobility-wise. I think Will has the strongest arm there. At the end of the day, whichever way Vrabes wants to go, I think is a great direction to go.
I think everybody thought because of the year he spent with Liam Cohen, I think everybody thought Levis would be a little more NFL ready than he's turned out to be. His measurables are still good. I think his ceiling is still good. But I think a lot of people, myself included, thought he was maybe a little more NFL ready than he really is. And that's what the Titans are now finding out. So I'm not terrible. By the way, stayed up last night and watched Draft Day again. That's a movie I haven't seen in years. Actually a pretty fun movie with Kevin Costner, going through it all. But it just reminded me how much more the Titans have no idea what they're doing on drives. So
hopefully that changes a little bit because really the entirety of John Robinson's tenure as GM over there with the Titans was like, what in the world's going on? Who are we drafting here? Seemed like half the picks never really worked out. I would say even more than
that I can remember in the last 15 years.
Harold Landry?
Not even that. He was fine for where you got him and all like that and what he turned out to be. A.J. Brown was a great pickup.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And Jack Conklin was a great pickup.
Yeah, all right.
And then we lost Jack in free agency, and then we traded away A.J. like an idiot. But those were excellent draft picks. Usually the Titans were drafting between 14 and 20, and you're picking up, a DB, and, occasionally you get some flash and you'll get a Vince Young who Jeff Fisher never wanted, or you get a Pac-Man Jones who couldn't stay out of trouble. But generally speaking, it was kind of a serviceable guy that the Titans got 3 to 4 years out of and then didn't want to pay him and moved him on. So, whatever. But I loved Conklin. I thought he was probably one of the best guards drafted in the last 20 years.
Just let him walk in free agency.
And then A.J. Brown, I'd say going into that draft, I thought he was going to be a steal. He was a kid who grew up in Starkville, went to Ole Miss, which killed me, but he had tremendous talent.
Gosh, could you imagine had they said, you know what, let's bite the bullet, let's give A.J. Brown 2022. I think what he wanted was 25. I think that's what he's got right now with the Eagles. And then still come here, and I highly doubt it's in the money or in the cards anyways to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. But what better duo for Treylon Burks to be learning from, and then where does that set the Tennessee Titans as far as wide receiver core compared to the rest of the league?
That's all they did. They just thought Treylon Burks was a value version of A.J. Brown.
Right.
And he cost him a lot less. Wasn't nearly as good. So the balance between what he cost you versus what he gave you wasn't in line. He cost a little less than A.J. Brown. He played a lot less.
Yeah.
Good than A.J.
Almost like the
and Burks is not a bad player.
100%, but he was still dealing with the asthma. You go from kind of knowing you're going to be number 2 on the depth chart or kind of like the number 2 target to essentially being thrust into the number 1 spot and all eyes on you now. And then when you get injured, all criticism headed your way at that point as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens here in games 2 and 3 for the Titans at that quarterback position quarterback battle for QB2 between Will Levis and Malik Willis. Elsewhere outside of the Tennessee Titans, I didn't get to watch a ton. I think I watched some of the Packers-Bengals game on Friday night. But nothing. By the time that I got into the game, it was pretty much like, what am I watching here at this point in time? Hearing some good things about Jordan Love as far as like in camp goes, and with him and Christian Watson. But who do you think in that NFC North? Who makes a bigger step this year? Because Justin Fields had a lot of love around him last year, especially when it comes to fantasy owners. But who do you think takes like that bigger step this year, Jordan Love or Justin Fields? Because with as much rushing and as good of a year Justin Fields had to some extent, statistically, if the Bears don't win more than 5 or 6 games, then it's going to look like he's taking a step back.
It's kind of a weird question in that Fields has a lot of steps he can make because they were so bad. Love, we don't even know where he's starting from. We just haven't really seen him. So, I mean, they each could show infinitely better than we've seen.
Right.
I don't know. The Bears made some good moves, but I think they're another year or 2 away. So I'm not sure we're going to see a great Bears team this year.
I really am excited about the DJ Moore, like him having a number 1 wide receiver now. But I don't know if that moves the needle that much here in the second real year for Justin Fields.
It's a tough division, to really excel as a quarterback. That's why the Favres and the Rodgers were anomalies in Green Bay. Now, you can get away with it in Minnesota a little more because you're in the Dome. But I don't know. And then Detroit has just been Detroit. Although Jared Goff may be the guy. To be perfectly honest, I really like where the Lions are positioned. And I know they made strides last year, so people think he doesn't have as far to go.
Yeah.
But the impact difference between being a solid team on the verge of playoffs, to a team that might be able to win a game in the playoffs, maybe make it to the divisional round or even on to the conference finals, which would not shock me. The NFC is pretty wide open.
Yeah, it is.
And the East is going to eat itself up, and the rest is pretty wide open. So a team like the Lions are in place, so Jared Goff could really have a big impact here for them. I mean, I keep thinking the Vikings. I think we missed it with them because I thought it was last year for them, and they've changed up that team a little bit, so we'll have to see on the Vikings. But they're still poised to be good. Green Bay, I think it's a young enough team that they could really rally around Jordan Love. I don't know that they're ready yet, though. So if I were going to say somebody out of the North I really think is going to make the impact jump, I'll take the Lions.
Oh yeah, I'm stuck still. I haven't decided who I'm going to go with, which direction I'm going to go with in the NFC North, because a lot of me did want to put a lot of stock into the Detroit Lions this year, but then the suspension to Jamison Williams is one thing, and a wide receiver definitely does not make a team. So I'm not putting
without him most of the year last year.
And he only had I think. One catch.
Yeah.
One catch, and he had 9 targets. But that's one issue I'm kind of looking at.
Sure.
And then when and this is me overreacting to how good that quarterback documentary was, but it's like, man, I really want to see the Vikings like in the NFC Championship or in the Super Bowl. Let me get a Vikings-Eagles NFC Championship. That could be a lot of fun. Did you see Jacksonville Jaguars backup quarterback Nathan Rourke? I believe they were playing the Cowboys. My man evaded like 4 sacks. Looked like he was sacked the whole entire time, and then ends up making a pass to the right side of the end zone.
I didn't. I saw a headline that said that he broke basically the most tackles in NFL history or something on this run. Like, it was a joke headline.
Yeah.
But no, I heard about it, and then I heard about oh, good Lord, I'm blanking. The guy in Kansas City that wowed Patrick Mahomes he made a Mahomes-like play apparently, and now I'm blanking on who it was, but
it couldn't have been Chad Henne because he retired.
no, it was, oh God, I'm going to have to look it up in the break. But those were kind of some headlines that you get, and like Mahomes was going nuts on the sideline. Basically, it was a Mahomes-level play.
Yeah.
But, it's a preseason, man.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But still, if you watch that Nathan Rourke replay, though, it is very exciting.
I love a guy who can break tackles.
Yeah, there you go, man. And it was almost like Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque without having the hand on the face mask there. And then also one last little piece that we'll leave you guys with before we do get into the next break and talk with RJ Starcevic. Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey's brother, is actually going to have a documentary on him about 2022 season, I believe. So that's going to be rather awesome, being that it's on a center, an offensive lineman. They normally don't get to play like that.
As long as it's not a documentary on Mahomes' brother, I'm good with that.
Absolutely. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got a whole lot more to get to. Coming up next, we're going around the track with RJ Starcevic. Keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The tradition continues.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Bombs away!
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Head first slide, 2 RBI triple!
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder!
Sponsored by Best Way Portable Buildings, Dave & Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. A mixture of some sun and likely thunderstorms the rest of the day with temps near 91 and a wind between 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight and a temperature of 83. About the same tomorrow, around 90 with some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. Very warm with a high around 89 and likely thunderstorms and heavy rain Wednesday. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Great design is timeless, and that's why Tracy's Fine Jewelry inside Coin and Bullion Reserves offers a stunning selection of vintage, antique, estate jewelry on sale now at 40% off. Exquisite Victorian rings, Art Deco diamond brooches, Georgian and Art Deco bracelets, earrings, and pendants. These one-of-a-kind pieces add personality to any ensemble, and now at 40% off. Find your timeless treasure at Tracy's Fine Jewelry inside Coin and Bullion Reserves.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. 850-215-6290.
When you've completed dialing, listen for the ringing signal.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad, and we're going to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. RJ is the creator and the host of the NASCAR Report. You can find that on Instagram. Let's get a little NASCAR Report in. RJ, how's it going, my friend?
Going good, going good. How about you guys up there in Panama?
Fantastic, man. Just doing great right now. Mike McDowell with the big win over there in Indy yesterday. Give us a recap of that race.
Yeah, I mean, a huge win for Michael McDowell. I mean, it started off with Daniel Suarez on the pole. Michael McDowell was right there, and Chase Elliott was right there as well, and that really explains how the front pack of the race went. It was those three guys all race long, a race that had one caution that was on the very, first, second lap of the race, and the rest of it went green. And the fact that I think, all 82 laps were ran, and we still had the top three as close as they were with pit stops, everything like that. And for the finish to come down to under a second between Chase Elliott and Michael McDowell, I think it's really cool, because, races that go green all the way don't always pan out like that. And I think for the race to be what it was, just all the close racing we had throughout the field, like we talked about last week, the star-studded field that we had, all the storylines that went into it, for Michael McDowell to come out there and get the victory, not just a victory that people can say was, he just came out of nowhere and won it, a fluke victory. He dominated that race. He took the lead and never looked back and held off one of the greatest to do it on the road courses, Chase Elliott, to win, at the famed Brickyard. So huge win for Michael McDowell. He was in the playoff hunt, was in a points battle, and like we kind of talked about, you don't want to be in a points battle going to Daytona, and he got rid of that because he's got to win and he's going to be fighting to go deep in the playoffs, which I think is very possible. That car has been very fast. Fords have been on fire lately, 3 wins in a row. So Michael McDowell just coming out making a statement at the Indianapolis road course. And I'm sure he's going to be fast again at Watkins Glen next week. But big statement for him, big statement for Front Row Motorsports. Michael McDowell is now a 2-time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series.
Yeah, and only one caution in how many laps was it? 99, 84, somewhere around there?
I believe it was, yeah, right. I think it was 82 was the number.
82, and they only had one caution. I mean, is that... Obviously, that's surprising for any NASCAR race or for any race in general, I would imagine. I'm just assuming here. But then even more so for a road course, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it speaks to, number one, the talent of the field that we have, but also the change in the restart zone that we talked about last week. They moved it up, kind of in that final corner to where you go down to turn 1 instead of being 5 and 6 wide. You just got, the majority of the cars are spread out by the time they get there. So, it really helps to keep the race clean because the majority of the cautions I feel like we see on road courses are, we get the stage caution, which we don't have anymore. And then on the restarts, it's just calamity. And then that just cause more caution. So, I mean, to be able to have a clean race like that, but not just a clean race, an interesting race, I think it's just a huge statement to the talent of the field, and the talent of the race winner as well.
I heard someone on Twitter say that maybe the road course at the Indianapolis Speedway has run its course. Would you rather see the race next year be the road course or an oval?
It's such a tough decision now because we just saw a great race, right? It's so hard to steer away from that. But I think next year it looks like the promotion is the 30th anniversary of NASCAR. On the Indianapolis facility, and it seems to be, as today they were testing the cars on the oval, it seems to be that is likely the decision that is going to be made for next year, no matter what, is that the cars are going to return to the oval, but maybe it's just something that alternates. I think could be something to explore, having the road course then the oval, the road course then the oval, maybe they alternate it. But I think the big thing here is what I think they should do next year, which they did in 2020, was they had the Xfinity Series race on the road course, and then they moved, and then they had the Cup Series race on the oval the next day with IndyCar there as well, and then you got the trucks over there at IRP across the way on the short track. So, as far as what I'd prefer, I mean, we just saw a great race at the road course. I'm sure we're going to see another great race at Watkins Glen, but I think it's worth a shot to try and see how the atmosphere is to where, NASCAR is today compared to maybe where we were back in 2018, 2019. Let's see what ticket sales we can do. Let's see what the atmosphere can be like. Can we bring back the Brickyard 400 to what it was 10, 15 years ago? I think I'm willing to see them give it a shot for next year.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think one of the cool things is with them having the Indy race there and the NASCAR race, like everyone's kind of racing essentially the same track. It is the same track, right? They don't make any changes from the Indy Racing League to NASCAR?
Yeah, it'll be the same exact track.
Yeah, so I mean, I like that aspect of it. However, just me as like my personal preference I like the oval races, or I like round track races more so than what I do road courses. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because when they're racing the ovals, the oval tracks, there's more passing. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have any statistics. I'm just kind of going off my feeling. And then one other question. I don't want to get too far off of this because next week they're at Watkins Glen. But how do you feel about 2 road courses in a row, like for NASCAR? That doesn't seem. I don't know. I don't think. And again, this is me assuming that NASCAR fans like that. I would assume that majority of NASCAR fans like oval races, circular track races more so than road courses.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting way to cap off the regular season, I would say. Yeah, because you got really 3 straight wild card races, compared to what, the normal NASCAR circuit is. So it's like when we finished up, at Michigan and Richmond, you kind of saw those as really the last 2 real shots for somebody on that bubble to really make a gain, because we got 3 wild card races coming up, like we said a week ago. So you got Indianapolis road course now already done in the books. The race that went all the way green, but you're going to have different people running up front that maybe would run up front at Bristol or Kansas, things like that. Now we're going to go to Watkins Glen, kind of another wild card race, favors into the hands of the road racers. And then, obviously, the ultimate wild card race is the cutoff race at Daytona. So I think, it's 3 very different, very potentially chaotic races to end the season. I think it's interesting that we have these 3 races to end the season, but I think it definitely just put more of an emphasis on the 4 races before this, when we were going to New Hampshire, Pocono, Richmond, Michigan, some typical really, old school NASCAR tracks. For people to, make or break their season there. Because now it's no holds barred now. We're going into Watkins Glen, a track that's always had chaos before, one of NASCAR's classic road courses, and then we go to Daytona in a few weeks, which is sure to be, a lot of fireworks, that night. So it's interesting the way we end the schedule here in the regular season, for sure.
Yeah, how often does that happen, that the regular season starts in Daytona and finishes in Daytona?
Well, it's been a thing now for the last 3 years, I would say. We're approaching our 4th year doing this here at Daytona. So I think it's been fun. It kind of really gives it that identity of like, all right, now that we took Daytona away from the 4th of July, because that's what used to be the race, the Pepsi 400, the Coke 400. And now it's kind of that regular season cutoff race. So that fall Daytona race, now has an identity once again. But, it really just factors into that last chance, kind of race, which is, what they've been kind of picturing this format to be, winning in the playoffs, everything like that. We experimented with different racetracks with Indianapolis as the cutoff race a few years before. I know Richmond always was for years, 10 years ago. But now we throw Daytona in there, and it's the true wild card race, because you go into Daytona, anybody can win. So if you're on that playoff cut line, you never want to be in a points battle going to Daytona. But even if you're at 100 points above and you're 16th, you're not safe at all, because there could be a new winner. There are 15, plus people that are going to be in must-win situations going into Daytona. It just makes for an absolutely crazy race. And I know there's been discussion of the only race that we want to maybe replace that. If you move Daytona back to the 4th of July, and you put Atlanta in that regular season cutoff race with how crazy that track is now. I like it. I think having a super speedway as that final race just adds into kind of what they want for the playoffs. It's like that last chance. You got to win to get in, and the stakes are just super, super high.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going around the track with RJ Starcevic. He is the host and creator of the NASCAR Report. You can find that on Instagram. What'd you think of some of the non-regular NASCAR guys? And speaking of, Kobayashi made his debut with that 33rd place finish. What'd you think of his debut?
Yeah, Kobayashi, I think a lot of them were just trying to get their feet wet. The practice time is very limited in the series, and only a few of them got tests. I know Kobayashi got a test like Van Gisbergen got before he went in the car at Chicago Street Course. So they got a test just to feel out the car. But, I'm sure he wanted to have a better race on speed. He felt like he had pace, but in NASCAR, you get beat around a little bit, and I know he got spun out a few times. That kind of put him back in the field. Ultimately winded up with a 33rd place finish. And Brody Kostecki coming over from Supercars in Australia. He's the points leader over there. Finished 22nd, but he qualified 11th the day before in his first ever laps in the stock car. He ran the third fastest lap of the race yesterday, too, but he just, couldn't find the track position at the right time. Van Gisbergen got a top 10 kind of on his return, didn't get that win. But he kind of had the run where I thought he was going to have, a top 10 run. He still was going to be pretty fast, but not like race dominant, like he was over there at the street course. He had Mike Rockenfeller from Sports Cars coming on over, didn't have the race that he may have wanted, and Jenson Button as well kind of got caught up in the back of the pack in some trouble, never was able to make up ground. But I think it's just really cool to see all of them in the race, and for the race to not be, like an embarrassing one, because that's always the worry when all these top stars come from other sports. Australia is watching, Japan is watching. All these other countries now are watching to support their driver, and all these other sports are watching to support their driver. We got to make sure to put on a show. So I think, 80 laps clean and a good finish. I think I hope us as a sport, NASCAR, put on a good show for all the other sports and countries watching. A nice clean race. Hopefully that they, they can send some respect our way and not just picture NASCAR as the whole bunch of rednecks just going out there and driving into each other, all day.
And I believe for SVG, it was his second race. Does Gisbergen have a future in NASCAR, you think?
I believe he does. It seems like the word is he's already kind of got a deal down to run next year. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but it could potentially be a deal where he just spends all year running some different truck races, Xfinity races, Cup Series races. So if he's going to have this deal with Trackhouse, I would assume it would be something like he's running some truck races for Nice Motorsports. You run some Xfinity races for Colleague, some Cup for Trackhouse in that 91 car, and that obviously either screams one of two things. Trackhouse maybe isn't ready to have that third full-time car yet, isn't ready to get a charter yet, or they just feel like they want to get him really seasoned up first before they, put him in a full-time ride after just 2 races. So I think next year the word is that he'll probably just get some more experience on some ovals and then maybe truck and Xfinity series with some Cup races kind of thrown into there as well. So I'm looking forward to it. But nonetheless, SVG will be over here in America making some waves in the NASCAR world.
As we mentioned, Michael McDowell winning that race yesterday at Indy, clinched himself or punched his ticket to the playoffs. Whose race hurt their playoff chances yesterday, RJ?
Well, it's funny because Michael McDowell went out there and pretty much hurt. A lot of people did what they needed to do. Chase Elliott did what he needed to do for, the race. Ty Gibbs had a pretty solid race as well. But Michael McDowell winning that race just destroyed everybody else. And so now Bubba Wallace is that guy sitting on the cut line. And if, he's still in a mini points battle, but if someone wins, he's out. We get a new winner of the next 2 races, he's out. So, he's now in a pretty precarious position. Ty Gibbs now is like 50-something points back, so that win by McDowell hurt him hugely. Bowman and Elliott ran great races, just not enough to get the win that they needed, and the guy they didn't want to win the race. And so now they're really in a must-win position. So, a lot of the guys around the playoff cut line ran the races that they needed to run. I thought A.J. Allmendinger was going to have a much stronger race, and unfortunately didn't. Ran into some trouble. So Michael McDowell winning was just a punch in the face to everybody else, and now it's going to be a dogfight going into Daytona.
So did anyone help their playoff chances?
Well, you got Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell really helped his playoff chances. And it was like, that's really just how it was. I mean, he won the race, and he just slapped everybody else in the face and was like in dominating fashion. It was like, I'm in the playoffs, and you guys that I was fighting around the bubble, you're screwed now because I won. So Michael McDowell won. I mean, you got Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski, just ran consistent races, and they're going to be in good shape to make the playoffs on points as long as we don't get a new winner at Watkins Glen. They'll both clinch. So Michael McDowell was just the guy in his own world on Sunday, and he just made it happen.
So Chase Elliott, essentially the only way for him to get in now is either by winning at Watkins Glen or Daytona. Is that right? RJ, you there?
Yeah, I lost you just for a second.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good. So for Chase Elliott to get in, he'll have to essentially win at Watkins Glen or Daytona.
He is going to have to win. Yeah, he's in a must-win situation. He can definitely do it at Watkins Glen. He's won there multiple times before, but Daytona must-win situation, that's a tough task to do.
So let me give you, you've got Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, and Bubba Wallace. I don't think either one of those three guys have won this year. Who would you like to see win? Or who would you like to see get in out of those three drivers?
I mean, me personally, they have such three great stories. You know, as a Kevin Harvick fan growing up, I would love to see Kevin Harvick, you know, get one more win in his final year. I think that would be really awesome to see. And then Brad Keselowski has been gunning for a win for his new team at RFK Racing. And then, you know, a win from Bubba Wallace would just shake up the playoff picture even more. You know, by pretty much putting everybody in a must-win situation. But if I had to pick one, I'm thinking Kevin Harvick. I mean, for the rest of the year, his final season, he's got to walk off with at least one more win for his storied career. Would love to see it.
That is a great take there. And then got two more questions for you. Give us a recap of what went down in the Xfinity Series. And when you wrap up, hit us with 4 drivers for the Cup and the Xfinity Series that they're at Watkins Glen. Give us a recap of what went down in the Xfinity Series, RJ.
Yeah, the Xfinity Series, it was another pretty clean race, I would say. You know, we had A.J. Allmendinger in that race. He was going to make his name known. Ty Gibbs, the Cup regulars, were kind of fighting it out up at the front, like we've seen on the road courses pretty much this year. But Allmendinger had a little issue on pit road at the end of the race, lost some track position, and wasn't able to get that victory, which I think would have really been a huge momentum push going into Sunday for the Cup Series race. But Ty Gibbs finally, and it was crazy to hear the number that they had said, 7 tries he's had this year in the Xfinity Series. The defending champion hadn't got that win yet. Finally gets the win at the Brickyard. And definitely kind of to give him just some mental momentum, I'd say, going into the rest of the year. You know, it's tough for a guy to come out of the Xfinity Series. You're like the guy, the dominant guy, and then you go up to the Cup Series. It's going to be harder. You're not going to win every weekend like you did in the Xfinity Series. So to go back to Xfinity, get the win. Sam Mayer finished second. Really big for him because he won the Road America in crazy fashion, but, you know, wants to prove everybody that that's not a fluke. You know, he's got the win. He's got the confidence. Rolls in there with the second place finish at another road course. But Ty Gibbs getting the victory, I think cool to see him back in victory lane. And, you know, he's got 2 races to get himself in the playoffs. It's likely going to need a win. It would be crazy to see Ty Gibbs, the rookie, you know, with how good, you know, he was in Xfinity and Trucks and ARCA. If he could pull off a miracle, you know, must win to get in the chase for the Cup Series.
All right, RJ, give me your top 4 for the Xfinity and top 4 for the Cup Series when we get to the Glen.
Yes, sir. Another road course weekend. Going to be really fun to watch at Watkins Glen. I think for the Xfinity Series, 2 guys I've already talked about we're going to throw in there is A.J. Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs. You're going to have to watch them this weekend. I think somebody out there looking for a checkered flag this year and hasn't got one is Alex Bowman. He's running the race in the 17 for the Hendrick Motorsports entry. And then the 4th entry I'd throw in there is Cole Custer. You know, a guy that's done great in the road courses this year. Didn't have the luck he wanted at the Indianapolis road course, but I think he could definitely get it done at Watkins Glen. And then we switch over to the Cup Series. I think going to be another fun race. I think we're going to throw the defending winner, Michael McDowell, into my 4. I mean, you can't just have a super dominant race on a road course like that, and I'm not going to throw you into my 4. I mean, I think, you know, he's been really good at Watkins Glen in the past. Was good last year. You know, has a chance to win that race again. Then let's throw Chase Elliott in there. He's in a must-win situation. We've seen him do these type of things before, deep in the playoffs when in must-win situations. This really is going to be, I think, his last chance to do it, and he's got to do it this weekend at the Glen. I think, you know, another playoff cut line guy, Daniel Suarez, really good last weekend. I think he'll have speed once again at the Glen. And then I'll throw A.J. Allmendinger in there as well. I think A.J. Allmendinger has much more experience at the Glen, has a win at the Glen in the Cup Series. That's where his first career win came. Why not this weekend? So, like I said, that's 4 guys I threw in there that are kind of in the playoff hunt besides McDowell. This playoff bubble, battle is just really, really heating up. I think it's going to be another fun weekend.
RJ, thank you so much, my friend. You have a great week. Enjoy the race at the Glen, and we'll catch up with you next Monday.
Anytime. Going to be a great weekend at the Glen, and I'll see y'all next week.
That is RJ Starcevic. He is the host and creator of the NASCAR Report. Go find him on Instagram. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida Traffic Jam and Trivia when we get back.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, the Atlanta Braves take on the hated New York Yankees at Truist Park. Max Fried comes in at 4-1 with a 2.5 ERA to face Yankees starter Clark Schmidt, who is 8-6 on the year with a 4.23 ERA. Coverage starts at 6. First pitch at 6:20. Right here on the home of the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. A mixture of some sun and likely thunderstorms the rest of the day with temps near 91 and a wind between 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight and a temperature of 83. About the same tomorrow, around 90 with some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. Very warm with a high around 89 and likely thunderstorms and heavy rain Wednesday. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Young Cycle across from FedEx Mosley Drive in Lynn Haven has a fantastic selection of pre-owned Harleys at great prices. Great prices. Don't buy a Harley until you stop by Young Cycle. Young Cycle, a full service department is available too, offering motor trike conversions, parts, and accessories. Nothing compares to Harley-Davidson and the low prices on pre-owned Harleys at Young Cycle. Young Cycle, 112 Mosley Drive across from FedEx in Lynn Haven.
Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on? It is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad, and we've got Bone Crusher back there spinning it and keeping the video looking fresh to death. It's time to play a little traffic jam and trivia here. Give us a call, 850-215-6290. Who has the most receiving yards as a rookie tight end in NFL history? He did this in 14 games. Who has the most receiving yards as a rookie tight end in NFL history? Clue. I think I would have got
that wrong, actually.
Oh, wow. So go ahead and give me your guess.
It would have been somewhat in the time frame.
Okay.
I was thinking more maybe like a Dave Casper or somebody like that, for the Raiders. But
850-215-6290. We've got $25 to not the, but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. The Braves did take 3 of 4 from the Mets over the weekend. They lost last night, Sunday Night Baseball, 7-6. But was it the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday, like 21-3? Then they blanked them Saturday evening. I believe they blanked them Friday as well. So it was a great series. You would have liked to see them pull that one out last night. But even in that, I think his top 8th inning, Matt Olson went deep again for his 43rd home run of the year. And now they're headed back to Atlanta to host the New York Yankees, who I believe are a couple of games over 500 right now, but in last place in the American League East. Oh yeah, I always forget that you're a Yankees fan. I don't know why.
It's harder and harder to be one.
Yeah. Hey, The silver lining is that if you guys were in pretty much any other division in baseball, you would be vying for a wild card spot.
Cashman would find a way to ruin that too.
Well, no, I guess you wouldn't be vying for a wild card spot, but you'd be vying for the division.
Oh, we'd be
lead.
Great in the AL Central.
Well, you'd still be behind. You'd be 2 games behind the Twins.
Great.
but you'd be looking, you'd be in better shape anyways. Let's get over to the phone line. We've got Robert. Robert, who has the most receiving yards as a rookie tight end in history, NFL history?
I'm going to say Mike Ditka.
Iron Mike Ditka is correct. He did this in 1961 as a rookie. He had 56 receptions, 1,076 yards, 12 touchdowns, and this was when they only played 14 games in a season. 2020, I believe, or 2021, Kyle Pitts was the next closest. He was 50 yards away from beating this record, or from tying the record, actually. But he, had the luxury of 16 games. So whenever anyone does eventually break this record, if they do, which is just so amazing to me that how long Ditka has held this record for. But this is Professor Plum, isn't it?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for the call. Just hang on the line and Bone Crusher will grab some information from you.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Great stuff there. But yeah, the fact that he, has held this record in a day and age where it's no secret, or it's not even an argument, I would say, that the athleticism is on a different tier these days, and tight ends are more involved in the passing game.
Well, I was going to say tight ends are more large receivers now than they, I mean, when Ditka was playing, it was primarily a blocking position.
Right.
Yeah, we'll catch the ball occasionally, stuff like that. So all the more impressive anything that was done back in the 60s and even through the early 70s. And then the position started to change a little in the 80s. You started to see a little bit more done with the position, a little bit more athletic. I still remember a guy, Keith Jackson, who played at Oklahoma, which was hilarious because he was a great tight end, but came out of the wishbone.
Yeah.
Even before that, Ozzie Newsome out of the old Alabama running situations, and he was... It's still hard for me to say somebody was better. I think Tony Gonzalez was better, but it's hard for me to go against Ozzie. But then obviously the evolution through the 90s and then into the 2000s with guys like Gonzalez, and what it is now is just
insane.
They're just total matchup. Disparities. They're more receivers than they are, the old school tight ends. So, but
they
it's
still
that
got
much
to block though.
But that's it. But it's that much more impressive that they have not eclipsed those numbers of Mike Ditka yet. With it being more of a. Yeah, everything's tailored toward passing the ball now. So
if there was one this year, and I don't think that he'll be able to get it done because he's going to be behind Pat Freiermuth, but over there in Pittsburgh, Darnell Washington out of Georgia.
Sure.
I think that could be a threat. And then next year, obviously, Brock Bowers coming to the league.
Yeah.
If he's fed the right amount, if he gets enough targets, I think Brock Bowers could obliterate this record.
Brock is a unicorn.
He's Travis Kelce.
I've said it for years. Yeah. I think the last 2 years, to me, he's been the most unguardable player in college football. He's my favorite player in college football, and I'm not a Georgia fan.
Right.
He's amazing, and I still don't think we've seen everything he can do. So, I think Brock Bowers could be that. But then again, you got to be in the right situation. You got to stay healthy. You never know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. In other news, well, kind of sticking with the Braves again, they've got the Yankees tonight. It's going to be Clark Schmidt going for the Yanks up against Max Fried, who looks to bounce back after his previous start, I believe, was Thursday against the Pirates, or Wednesday against the Pirates. Didn't look as sharp as what he did in his game back from the injury.
Well, I know the problem with that game.
What is that?
See, when Todd comes in here, you need to ask him when he went to a game because it's Todd's fault. Yeah, the Braves dropped that one.
Yeah, that was actually there. Monday's game. I don't think
he was there Monday. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I could be wrong. Whatever he was, the Braves lost, so we've been blaming Todd.
All right, I think they split that series 2 games apiece, though.
Well, the days all run together.
But Matt Olson, again, with that home run in the 8th last night, has him on pace. He's at 43 home runs right now, on pace for 60. And he only needs 8 now to tie Andrew Jones and the Braves franchise record of 51.
So here's the question. Obviously, 40-40 is a special number.
Yeah.
3-4 weeks ago, Ronald's a lock for MVP.
Right.
He's in a dogfight right now
with his own teammate,
and maybe Freddie.
Freddie's in because I think, man, when you really, I did a little side by side comparison of Freddie and Olsen, and Freddie's got like 30 more hits than he does, 13 more stolen bases. Obviously, when it comes to RBIs and home runs, Matt Olsen's got him beat pretty prevalently right there. But yeah, I mean, it could be two Braves and a former Brave right there.
Do you think that mythical number of 40-40 is what would put Junior over the top?
I think if Ronald were to get 40-40, it's not even close. I don't think, just because it's been so long since it's been done. Now, still, regardless of him doing that, in my mind will always be a caveat, though, just because this is the first year and the guy's almost stolen 70 bases. So it's like, it's easier. It's a lot easier. Yeah. And there's a reason they went so long without a 40. And I think Ronald was the last one to get close. Yeah. But did not accomplish it and didn't really get enough playing time down the stretch. I don't think he's going to get to 40-40 now, though, just because he's slow. The thing is with his bat is he can heat up and hit 8 in a week. You know what I mean? And no one would really be like, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? And that would put him up at 32, and then he would only have 8 needed to get to 40-40. But what's he sitting at, 24 or 26 right now?
So here's the other thing to consider. Ronnie's got the name. Freddie's got the name. Matt Olsen really doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Does that hamper him because this is still a voted on award?
I think that it hampers him in a couple of ways. One, because Freddie Freeman Dodgers, Ronnie Braves, and Ronnie's kind of been the face and
no doubt,
been the MVP frontrunner for the majority, if not the whole entire year this year. And then with Matt Olsen, even though very well known in Atlanta, especially by Atlanta natives. Yeah. He's a guy who was on the A's 2 years ago.
That's right.
So, yeah, I do think that hampers him. But then again, what do people love more than they love? I would say that to your younger fan, 60 home runs is more impressive than 40-40 because they haven't got to realize. I don't think that they would realize how impressive 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs is in a year. People just love the long ball these days.
Yeah, that's it. Maddox and Glavin said it in the commercial. Yeah. Chicks dig the long ball.
Yeah, they did. That's a great commercial share every time that I see it. The Marlins and the Cubs and the Reds in the National League right now, all separated by just a half a game, battling for that final wild card spot in the National League. That will be an interesting race down the stretch, especially with the Cubs and the Reds, who I believe are only 2.5, 3.5 games out of the lead behind the Brewers in the National League Central.
What a story the Cubs are since the break.
Yeah.
Everybody thought they were going to sell off. And they end up keeping it together. The guys are obviously thrilled by that, and they've been on a tear since. So just a fun story there. The Reds are obviously a fun story. Great young talent. Obviously, Ellie being the highlight of that. But it's a good squad. The Marlins, good gracious. They've been the doorstep of the National League for how long? And a joke. And, of course, we got the sniping back and forth with Jeter now and everything.
Oh, yeah. Is that not wild? He ruined the ballpark.
I would have expected it months ago, honestly. But, so there's a lot going on there. But, look, I'm the purist, and I told you I boycotted the year, of 1998 because the Brewers switched divisions, and all I missed was the greatest home run battle in history. Right. So, I showed myself. But I'm more of a purist. I don't love the wild card. I never really have. But, God, it's going to be exciting this year.
Now you get 3 wild cards.
Well, get me started. We're going to give everybody a trophy before it's all over. But it is what it is. At least if you're going to have those things that maybe I don't love, I can't deny the fact that it's going to be an exciting race down the stretch, and that'll be fun.
I think the game in totality, and not just from us saying it, but just by virtue of the attendance or the increase in attendance and viewership as well, that the game's been much more watched this year, and I can't imagine that slowing down. The only thing that would maybe knock it back a little bit is going to be the emergence of college football and the NFL, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, new rules and all, yeah, that's cool, but I still want to watch my football.
Yeah, and the timing of the end of the baseball season is brutal because football sucks up all the air in the room. It always has, and it always will.
Preseason to some extent.
Yeah, so, there's just so much hype around it that if baseball could find a way to end in August, it would be so much better. I get why they don't. I love the tradition. 162 for me. I wasn't around for the 154 days, but I get it. But it really does get somewhat lost in that shuffle of new football season.
Yeah, how would you do that? I guess the only way...
There's no way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, because they only get like one off day a week.
There just isn't. They've just got to just really lean into the marketing of the good young talent that's in the game now and hopefully build off of the goodwill that they have because they've had a great summer of baseball. If it continues, we get some more great stories, they lean into that talent, then baseball will be in a good spot.
Can't wait for them playoffs, but we still got a whole month and a half to go till we get to that point of the season. Your Atlanta Braves right here on ESPN Northwest Florida tonight. Coverage starting at 6. First pitch at 6:20, taking on those New York Yankees. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Hour number 2 when we return.
ESPN Northwest Florida is your touchdown headquarters for the Mosley Dolphins and the Auburn Tigers.
Touchdown, Auburn!
Plus, premier college and NFL games.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Your source for the most live football on the Gulf Coast in a rich audio experience.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. A mixture of some sun and likely thunderstorms the rest of the day with temps near 91 and a wind between 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight and a temperature of 83. About the same tomorrow, around 90 with some sun in the morning followed by likely thunderstorms. Very warm with a high around 89 and likely thunderstorms and heavy rain Wednesday. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hi folks, it's Tracy with Tracy's Fine Jewelry and Coin and Bullion Reserves. Did you know that we do more than just sell some of the finest jewelry in town? We can engrave on your wedding band, locket, Yeti cup, or almost anything. Need your watch battery changed? We can do that too. Our expert will even evaluate your coin collection. And of course, we always pay top dollar for your old gold and silver jewelry. See, there's a lot more to Tracy's Fine Jewelry than a lot of pretty sparkly things. Come and see us today at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, this is Tim.
Do y'all sell bait?
Yes, we seasonally stock live shrimp, live bull minnows, live sand fleas, live fiddler crabs, earthworms, night crawlers, crickets. We also stock frozen shrimp, sand fleas, mullet, squid, pre-rigged ballyhoo, bonita, stingray, cigar minnows, Boston mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and a few other miscellaneous baits. It's worth the drive to buy premium locally sourced bait from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
And the Braves are back in front.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Braves are absolutely rolling through the National League with some of the biggest wins and epic moments of the year.
2-2 to Matt, and a rocket to right field. This thing is into orbit. That's on the roof of the Chop House.
Tonight, the Braves are back in town as they brought the Big Apple back with them, facing off against the New York Yankees live from Truist Park.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch at 6:20. On your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hometown sports talk from hometown hosts.
People are loving it.
We're live and local. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Are you kidding me?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It is hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. The PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd is just about 20 minutes away. Todd Mueller talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them. Plus, we're going to be taking your calls and questions, 850-215-6290. That'll be at 5:20 right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. All right, so the preseason, you know what? I'm going to do it to you just because I'm going to hold off until 5:40.
I'm still hearing Salt and Pepper in my head. I mean, I loved that lead in. That was great. Anyway, go ahead. There we go.
Pump it up, baby.
It's 1989 all over again.
No, I do want to dive. Michael Orr has been that story, honestly, for like the last 3 years has resurfaced at different points and times of the year, and it's reared its head again.
Sure.
And so we'll wait on 540 to get to that, and then maybe dive. The whole Wander Franco story right now, which obviously there's no facts going on. The MLB, the Braves have placed him on the restricted list, which 9 times out of 10 you're not being paid when you're on that list as well, and he will be away from the team while the MLB conducts an investigation onto some allegations of some social media posts that he posted on Twitter of him and what is considered to be a 14-year-old girl, but we'll figure out how all of that plays out.
It's real hard on this one to know what's truly there and what isn't. And in this day and age, it's the story first, and then, we'll figure out the facts later. And that's what's unfortunate to this, especially when you talk about something like this. The damage could be done before any facts.
Oh, even if, say the girl's 21 years old or whatever.
It could be a shakedown play. It could be exactly what it sounds like. I mean, either way, this is a huge deal.
It is.
And you gotta.
That's the wrong time of the year. If you're the Rays, the Wander Franco, that's being investigated. That is what it is. Like, I'm not like the rest of the world where I'm going to wait. I am going to wait till the facts are out or whatever. But it's terrible for the Tampa Bay Rays.
There's a lot of different levels to this story.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Rays, it's just another kind of. It's almost like, they made a deal with the devil in the beginning of the year, and now it's coming due. They got off to such a hot start, and they were so far out there, and they've since been clawed back by the Orioles, and they've, they haven't played poorly. It's just they've come back to earth, and now, they had to go through the thing with Wander earlier in the year. We're kind of checking his attitude.
Yeah.
You got these things.
Treat your teammates right, that stuff.
So from a Rays perspective, it's obviously detrimental anytime you have one of your key players getting into trouble. From Wander's perspective, it's possibly cataclysmic because, he's already dealing with the notion of being a bad attitude kind of young guy. And that's the kind of thing that sticks with you. Now, I think he's young enough that he could get through that. But obviously being embroiled in another issue within the same year is going to have some level of a huge effect. Even if it doesn't stick to him, if it doesn't end up being as bad as it sounds, how about his psyche?
Yeah.
How much lack of trust is he going to have for the rest of his life on things? So you're dealing with that. And then don't forget the last aspect of this. Major League Baseball's in a precarious situation here, too, because this may not only be Wander Franco. And the players, obviously, the ones who've come from the islands, from the Dominican Republic specifically, have always been kind of subject to a lot of these type of extortion and shakedown attempts. And I'm not saying this is it. This may be legitimately on Wander.
Oh, 100%.
But soccer goes through this with Brazil, where you have a lot of these same type of things, or family members get kidnapped or things happen. We just talked about how much good young talent there is in baseball, and baseball is seeing some popularity numbers this hasn't seen in a long time. Baseball's in a precarious position to where if some of their young start, we dealt with Tatis last year with the performance-enhancing drug. Now you're dealing with something like this, which could be underage, social media kind of stuff. Baseball's in an awkward position itself of making sure that people don't view it as kind of the inmates running the asylum and it's just out of control, and so they have to be careful too. So there's a lot of layers to this, and the hard part is we're barely discussing it. A lot of the national shows are going deep in, and nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
Yet.
I try to shy away from the stuff. Like I don't mind bringing it up and just kind of talking about what's going on right now. And we'll end this conversation with I don't want to make light of the situation. Just the irony of the situation is yesterday the promotional giveaway for the Tampa Bay Rays was a yellow Wander Franco snapback for kids 14 and under.
It certainly was, and I didn't realize 14 and under, but good gracious, that just That's
just
something.
the irony in the search. I'm not even going to match that with a laugh. Just like, what in the world? Because there's nothing. There's nothing tying that together. It's
it's just
purely
one of
coincidental.
Life's oddities.
All right, so over to the AP poll. Nothing really surprising. Maybe where Alabama's at is surprising to some. To me, not so much. Georgia coming in at number 1 with 61st place votes. Ton of sense. The only team that I would put above Michigan, and that's just because, or put above Georgia, would be Michigan. But I wouldn't do that just because Georgia's back-to-back champions and back-to-back national champions, and that they've got a great recruiting class coming in to 2023. Michigan, however, is bringing a lot of pieces back, so I feel like that kind of gives them that upper hand. But I'm always down with putting the incumbent champion or going into the season with the incumbent champion as the number 1 team in the preseason AP poll.
I've gone back and forth with that notion. I'm not leaning that way anymore. I'll tell you why. Because the teams are drastically different nowadays from one year to the other. They already were different due to graduation and recruiting. Now with the transfer portal, teams can be drastically different. Now, I think Georgia's number 1 because of what I believe is the roster they have for this year. I wouldn't put them number 1 because they won last year. Because you could completely turn over your entire team, and that wouldn't make sense. Because, look, we're talking about a purely subjective vote anyway.
Right.
So, in and of itself, so I wouldn't do it simply because they were there. What's more interesting to me is looking at the first place votes. I mean, I don't see how you can put anyone other than Georgia first right now.
Right.
I get it. Michigan is bringing back a couple of key parts, and they're in the Big Ten, so they've got a good avenue if they can run through their schedule of getting through and into the playoffs and everything like that. Ohio State's a very intriguing pick to me, but they're an intriguing pick because the odds aren't as high in their favor. Like, I was in Biloxi Sunday.
Yeah.
I looked at the futures. I wanted to see where they were. Ohio State's in a very good spot at plus 700, I believe.
Right.
But I wouldn't, if I had a vote, it's Georgia.
Is that futures for CFP champion, or is that just Big Ten champion?
That's champ. No, it's for CFP champion.
Ooh, plus 700.
Yeah, 700 is usually good value play there. I don't want to go too far down the betting road, but my point is I'm a little surprised Georgia didn't clean sweep the first place votes. Whatever, it's what it is. Other than that, yeah, you're right. It's pretty much chalk. There are some teams I think get too much love.
Is Alabama getting too much love?
Where I think they're going to be, yes. If you're preseason looking at rosters, should they be in the top 4? Yeah, they should. But I just think Alabama's going to struggle this year.
And they very well could. I mean, we're not hearing anything extremely positive between in the quarterback battle right now. Like Paul Feinbaum was talking about, they don't have any idea who it's going to be out of Jalen Milrose, Simpson, or Buckner right now.
New offensive coordinator from outside the system. New defensive coordinator from outside immediately the system. Questions at quarterback, which is the worst thing you can ever say about a football team in this day and age. New young receivers. That might be a good thing because the ones previously couldn't catch. Suspect offensive line. I don't care what they grade out on paper. They've graded out great on paper for 2 years, and they've been lousy.
Yeah, well, that's got to change. That has to change this year.
2 new safeties. I like their I like their edges on the defense. I like the corners. I like the outside linebackers. I don't like the interior or the spine of the defense yet, but it's early.
Yeah,
we're going to see.
That can grow on you.
Great running back room.
Yes.
I do agree with that. So, we'll see. But I think if you're looking at rosters and looking at preseason votes, I think you have to have Alabama up there. I think USC's too high, but I get it because you've got the Heisman Trophy winner, so I'm not that upset by that one.
I think
Florida State should probably be higher based on what they're bringing back.
I'm good with that. I would have loved to see LSU, no matter which one was where, but if you're going to have Florida State at 5, let's just say for sake of the argument, then have LSU at 6 or vice versa. Just have them back-to-back with each other. They'll settle it on the field.
Right, I'm not sold on Washington at 10. I would have had Oregon or Utah there over Washington.
Is that Michael Penix hype, baby?
Yeah. I get it. It's going to be one of those.
Right.
But they're going to beat each other up. The one that just baffles me that I don't see it is Texas.
Texas too high.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's because we get this every single year, and
I don't.
Is it going to happen?
Ewers is a year older. I'm not sure he's a year better because he missed some time.
Yeah, that's true. It's a hot take, too.
And the key to their offense last year isn't there this year.
Both of the keys, though,
Yeah.
right? Because Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, both those. And so now you're having to not just one back, but two backs. And then Quinn Ewers, like we didn't finish the season with Quinn Ewers, so how are we going to expect for him to get back to where we saw him in that Alabama game?
Look, he doesn't have the mullet anymore. Good for him. But I don't. Here's my point. They're an 8-5 team a year ago. I don't see where they have improved drastically over last year's team. Maybe they will be better. I don't know, but I don't see it. Texas way too high for me. Notre Dame, I always want to not be on the list, but they're always.
How are they not going to be there?
I wouldn't have them ahead of Utah or Oregon, but they'll end up higher because one of those teams will knock the other one out. K-State, I'm glad to see them there because they're always unheralded. They should be better. TCU lost a lot, makes sense. Oregon State, I hope
TCU could even still be too high right there at 16 to some extent, but I think that their transfer portal success is being underrated because of how well Florida State, how well Ole Miss does year in and year out, and then even Colorado in the transfer portal.
I think that's fair. Oregon State is an interesting one to me because they may get. I wonder what the effects of all this Pac-12 dissolution is going to have on a team like that because don't think these kids aren't thinking about we're not going to be Power 5 basically.
Yeah. What are we even doing next year at this point?
I'm curious how that affects them.
But they had a great record last year at 10-3. Going to be hard to duplicate that. And then the other question is that DJ Uiagalelei transfers over there. We didn't see anything. I don't want to say anything positive. He never met expectations over there at Clemson.
That's correct.
Why should we expect that to happen over here at Oregon
I think
State?
him being back on the West Coast will be helpful for him.
Yeah.
I really do. But it's not like he's close to home. He's a Southern California guy. We're talking about Oregon. Where's I can't even remember where Oregon State
Corvallis?
is. Corvallis, that's right. You're right. So, yeah, I mean, it's not close to Southern California. That I do know. Oklahoma is a team I think can be a lot better than people think.
Yes, but I don't think that they deserve a top 25 ranking.
I would.
You would?
Because of what they've added. Now, they added probably the best defensive player in the portal last year, the linebacker from Indiana, and got his brother in a package deal who was coming out of high school.
Okay, and that's what Venables has got to fix is the defense.
Yeah, correct. And I have faith in Venables to fix their defense.
They did a great job
Dylan
at Clemson.
Gabriel coming back as an experienced hand who got injured before TCU knocked out 6 quarterbacks last year.
They
he was
did.
one of them. So I think Oklahoma is a team, while they were disappointing last year, could surprise this year. North Carolina, all over the place. Ole Miss is a very talented team with a brutal schedule. So
Can they stay consistent? That's the thing
A&M
for Ole
could be
Miss.
the most popcorn-heavy disaster show on television this year.
I really want to see a year like it was last year for them, just because the carnage and the chaos will be nonstop week in and week out between the whole gym. But they can say it's not an issue, any of that kind of stuff. I don't care. If they have a year like they did last year, Texas A&M is going to be a storyline, almost a mockery of storylines for the rest of the season.
I would have probably had Arkansas in the top 25. I think they're down about 29.
What about Wisconsin there at 19? Luke Fickell, first year. We don't really know. We don't know anything about them.
They're on the right side of the Big Ten.
That's fair.
So that may benefit them. And the other thing I saw that jumped out to me is my South Alabama Jaguars got a vote.
Oh, they got one for the
exactly
top 25?
one vote.
Hey.
But yeah, look at them Jaguars. But you know what? I think it honestly was probably the least controversial AP poll to start the year that I've seen. But that in some ways speaks to the fact that you've kind of got separate tiers going in college football right now. Somebody's going to break into this top 6 or 7 that we're not thinking of right now. Every year that's the way that happens. So who's that going to be? It's probably going to be one of the Pac-10 teams. I don't think USC is going to stay there. I think it's either going to be Utah or Oregon that ends up.
Utah or Oregon. So,
and I'll be honest with you, I'd go with Oregon right now.
And so no love, no real love for Washington.
I don't think. Not me.
Okay.
I'd love to be wrong.
I would too. Well, I'm not going to say that I'm wrong because for me, I think I have Oregon winning the Pac-12, beating USC.
I agree.
We did a Pac-12 preview, and I had Oregon, Washington, and Oregon, Washington, and USC all going 11-1.
I love Utah, but with the uncertainty of Cam Rising's help, that's a little worrisome to me because he's a lot of why I love Utah.
Yeah.
But no, I think to me, it's Oregon. But it's hard to bet against USC with what they're going to be able to do out there. They've got weapons.
And then one last one real quick here with Iowa. They couldn't even score this many points a game last year. Why in the world? Well, we don't want to give them a lower number necessarily, but they couldn't even score 25 points a game last year. What are they doing at the top 25 this year?
Can't get worse.
They need to be.
I'm almost mathematically certain it can't get worse offensively.
Offensively speaking, yeah.
Yeah, look, Iowa's always been a team that's really good at home, and I think their home schedule lines up better this year, so I get it.
We don't have to, we're not putting any weight to this, but
look, who would I have above them? I'd have Arkansas above them. I'd have South Carolina above them. I'm not sold on UCLA yet till I see what they got. I'd be fine putting UTSA above them. I'll be honest. I'll tell you another team.
The Roadrunners need some love here.
I'll tell you another team that I think is going to surprise people, and this is risky for me because this team could lay an egg.
Are you saying?
I think Kentucky. Could actually be the surprise in the SEC this year. Cohen back with Devin Leary. I already like the way that marriage looks. This is their year to have a better schedule layout. The East is interesting this year. I think Tennessee's going to have a hard time. Florida's not ready yet, and their depth is a problem. South Carolina's solid. This is the year Kentucky could kind of slip into that surprise number 2 role in the East.
For some reason, and you could slap me over the head if you want to, I thought you were going to say Southern Miss. Like, they could be one of those surprise teams. I was like, oh man, wasn't going to expect that, and obviously should not have expected that. You mentioned with TCU, they knocked out like 6 quarterbacks last year. Is that something that the committee should take into consideration? I mean, it is the game of football. Injuries happen, but if you've knocked out 6, quarterbacks, is that something that the committee should look at when they've got a team like TCU who is exceeding expectations by going into the Big 12 championship or their conference championship with a 12-0 record at that point? Should the way that they got there, should something like that be taken into consideration? You got my gears going.
I was not a person who had a problem with TCU being in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I did not. And I'll be honest with you, if anything, I thought they got hosed in their conference championship game on that goal line play. I thought he was clearly in. So I don't.
What does that really change into the day?
Look, I'm an SEC homer as big as anybody, and I've made plenty of TCU jokes. Newsflash, Georgia just scored again. What a lot of people don't say that too is newsflash, Michigan, TCU just scored again.
Yeah.
Because Michigan made all kind of mistakes offensively, but they couldn't stop TCU.
Right.
And don't forget, Johnston was not healthy for that championship game. I don't think it makes any difference. Georgia is another level. But my point is that I don't think TCU was undeserving of being in the playoffs.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%.
I think a lot of people are basing that championship game on the fact that they didn't belong in there. They forget they beat Michigan, who everybody loves.
I would hate for that to kind of be the fallback. What ends up happening is the committee looking at things like that or trying to make arguments, especially in our final year here of the 14 playoff, to not get a blowout in the championship. But the blowout is what it is. I don't want to. I'm so glad to see
Alabama out.
That right. Oh, in the championship game.
That was one of the most miserable nights I've ever had.
That was a tough night.
You're gonna have blowouts,
right? But I would much rather have TCU getting blown out in the championship game, but still like that memory of TCU knocking off Michigan when no one thought that was happening.
That's right.
TCU was out. Like why put them in or whatever. Then they beat Michigan and proved why they deserve to be there. You gotta love it. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're gonna take a quick time out. When we return, we're gonna have the owner of PCB Hobby in the building with us. That's Todd Mueller.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
That ball's gonna be out of here.
America's team plays here.
Bombs away.
Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Ronald Acuna just clobbered one to left.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Billboard Kia, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Stormore Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 83 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A chance of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 91. Likely thunderstorms and sprinkles in 91 in the afternoon and evening. 87 and likely thunderstorms and moderate rain with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
As a realtor, it's important who you choose as your title company. May we suggest South Oak Title? Their offices are modern, comfortable, and state-of-the-art. South Oak Title can close transactions in any location in Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. Their free mobile app allows realtors to deliver a net sheet in seconds. They provide mobile closing services to accommodate buyers and sellers. Their offices are beautifully decorated, state-of-the-art, complete, safe, and secure. South Oak Title, creating a better title and closing experience through technology and tailored service. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play.
Hi, I'm a recovering crackhead.
Hand me that shotgun.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Get on your knees!
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida, and this is Todd Mueller with PCB Hobby. How's it going, Todd?
Everybody again, and glad to be back in the studio. Obviously, you guys know I was gone last Monday. I was gone because I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at one of the largest coin shows in America. It is called the A&A, put on by the American Numismatic Association, and it was the World Fair of Money. And it was fun. We had a table. We got to set up. We got to sell to customers. We got to sell to dealers, and we got to buy a whole ton of stuff. So we were locked and loaded and had a good time. So anyways, we're back. We made it back this weekend, and I'm tired, but I'm good.
Tired, but you're good.
Tired, but I'm good. Got a lot going on as usual at the shop. Shop was pretty busy this last week. Everybody still there working hard while we were gone gallivanting. But we have some new stuff coming up, and we're pretty excited about it. Our normal play and all that stuff was this last week. However, we did have trade day was on Saturday, and so that was pretty good. We had a lot of people show up. They reported back to me that it was pretty solid, and we had the Vanguard fight people there on Saturday, which is when I got back, and there was a good group of people there, so it was really busy. Of course, the biggest news on the block is Lorcana.
That's just dominating, isn't it?
So here we go. This Friday, we will most likely be on the morning news and be talking about Lorcana and the play of Lorcana, the packs, what they look like, the product, and we are a pre-release premium store. And so we will have the packs available Friday for sale. So we're
This Friday?
This Friday.
Oh,
the
my
18th.
goodness. I thought that was supposed to.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a little bit later too, but it's not. It's this Friday.
That's great news.
Yeah, so it's super great news. We're super excited about that, and can't wait to see everybody who comes in. We'll have plenty of product. We'll have boxes, booster packs, all the different accoutrements that come with that. So we're pretty excited about that. So that's the big thing that's happening this Friday. Of course, Saturday is Pokemon Play for the kids. and then we have our normal play tournaments throughout the week. Of course, you can check out PCBHobby.com and check out the calendar of events. It tells you everything there. Website's been going really good. We've started getting some coin orders on the website. That's been pretty fancy. And we've also, of course, been pre-selling a lot of different TCG products. Sports cards is going pretty good. We had a show actually last weekend that we went to. We had one of our representatives go for the sports cards, and we had one of our representatives go for TCGs, and they had a great show. Bought a lot of vintage cards, so that was really cool. So we have some new vintage stock in shop. We did get some graded cards back in from PSA. I know most people have been notified already that their stuff is back, and on top of it, we got a bunch of stuff, so we do have some new singles as well. As far as new product coming out, I'm going to turn that over to Brian, because I actually, since I've been gone for a week, cannot remember what's coming in.
Well, it's kind of a weird time because there's been a few things that came out that were huge, and then we've got a little lull here before another couple of big things. But on the football front, there's actually a few things trickling out. National Treasures, obviously a huge product just released, but that's like $3,000 a box. And, so that's something. But Immaculate Collegiate just came out. Legacy is a 2023 product.
That's
so
right.
It has a lot of the new ones. And we've had a lot of people coming in for that. Luminance is on the way. So you're going to start to see more of the 2023 products start coming through on that end. We actually have a new, for college football fans, we actually have a new Bowman Chrome University coming soon in the next couple of months. So we don't have to wait till after the season's over like we've had in the past. So that'll be coming. Basketball is just kind of an off-season mode, but going to start picking up again here.
Any James Harden 76ers cards out there?
I'm sure there's a few, but, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Baseball is still a lot about Topps Chrome, which is such a huge product. Right. It's so much fun, and we've got a lot of it, and it's selling great. Topps Chrome Platinum Anniversary for 2022
just came out,
which is on the 1953 throwback design, which for my money might be the best design in sports card history.
Oh, that would be a fun top 10.
There. And so they have a lot of the old guys, but they have a lot of guys from 70s and 80s, but also all the new players. And, your rookies for that product are actually still going to be Julio and Wander and Bobby Witt and guys like that. So that's another great product that's out there. Leaf is having some great products go out. We've actually got a lot of new soccer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's come in. A lot of great products, too.
I think we even have some Star Wars coming in soon.
New Star Wars just came in. New hockey is in. I mean, there's a lot of products that are out there right now. New WWE products are out, which have been fun for me. I may have to let Kyle know, to come in.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great stuff there. And then in the next couple of weeks, you're going to start to see baseball, a bunch of more products roll out for that. And football
the excitement is going to get huge. And the reason why, obviously you guys probably watched maybe a little bit of the preseason games, which I know they're not that as exciting, but I got to watch a little bit of the Raiders-San Francisco game last night, and it was just exciting. It was exciting to see that we're about to be in the season again. And so while the visitors may be going home, the locals aren't going home. And the locals who love to collect and love to, love football, which we all do, are going to be coming in the shop and getting to hang out. And so that's going to be kind of neat.
Well, and one thing I forgot, and that's actually coming out this week, I talked about the vets. The Topps Archives Signature Series Retired Players Edition is out. So what they do is they will take old cards from back in the day, they're really good shape.
Oh, yeah.
Almost like a reissue.
It's essentially a buyback.
It's a buyback.
And so it's old actual cards, and what they'll do is they will have the guys autograph the cards on the card and stamp
the card. Yeah.
So, you may get a Wade Boggs, and there's only 11 of them in the world, and they're already encased.
And they stamp it, and they say certified autograph issue.
Yeah.
And then they usually do Topps Archives, retired or Topps Archives signatures.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat, but it's a buyback card. So they have purchased the card back from somebody.
Yeah.
And then they have had it signed by the actual player, certified by Topps. and then there you go. You get it encapsulated, and they put it in packs. And so you're buying basically a buyback of old cards, and it can be anything. I mean, you can find Willie Mays, you can find any of them on it. It's amazing. It's a good product.
That would be so cool. I feel like if you were to get one of those as well, like the pack should also have cards of them doing whatever it is they're doing in their today life as well. So like an analyst or whatever.
Well, speaking of that, last show that we went to, so not this last weekend, but when we went to the Daphne show, we picked up a big group of cards, and we sent off one of the cards, and I'm going to bring it in next week. We sent off a 1964 Mickey Mantle, and the 64 Mickey Mantle was autographed. And the guy had said, this was my uncle's, da-da-da, and I know it's real, da-da-da. And we're like, cool, we'll send it in ourselves. So we bought it from him. Anyway, sent it in. Sure enough, was real. Got an autograph, a grade of 9. The card wasn't a 9, but the autograph was a 9.
Gotcha.
Which is still high. It's still high. It's still good. But yeah, a beautiful card. PSA encapsulated now. We're going to get that back. We'll bring it next week and show everybody.
And it validates the authenticity of the autograph. That was huge.
It was really huge. Just super cool card. And then one of the toughest cards to get is a 1953 Satchel Paige. Very, very tough card to get. I've only seen 1 or 2 in my lifetime come through the shop, and we've had 2 in the last month and a half.
That's got you giddy, I'm sure.
So they're very awesome.
Smiling,
So so that we've gotten a lot of cool stuff. We've gotten a lot of cool stuff. So hopefully everybody will come in. On the social media side of things, we're still doing all kinds of things. I want to let everybody know, believe it or not, Whatnot allows streaming automatically now in their system to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. And so you guys can catch us not just on Whatnot, but you can go to our YouTube and watch our videos. Like if you can't make one of our auctions, but you want to see what we're selling or doing, you can definitely watch it on YouTube now under PCB Hobby.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's really neat.
Yeah.
It's curated now. And then, of course, Sharon has been working diligently at getting the different social medias up and running with different content. Again, we have PCB Hobby on Instagram, which is where most of our information goes for everybody. But again, we have other ones, PCB Golden Coin, which is just PCB coins, and PCB trading card games and PCB sports cards. But things have been going really well. I want to remind everybody that we are expanding. November 1st, we're expanding to the space next door, so we're going to be working on that, busy with that, so you might see a little construction going on.
Bob the Builder.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
It's going to be so cool. And just, I know we did the International Trade Day packs last week. Of course, that got some interest with the Graham Mertz.
Oh, yeah. Travis actually came and picked that up Thursday.
Great. Yeah. But also, there's actually, because of the space, this got me thinking about with the space, we haven't been able to carry as much, but we've actually got some neat memorabilia pieces in shop right now.
A ton of memorabilia pieces. And we've got anything from, I think there was some Jerry Rice stuff. There was Emmitt Smith, Magic Johnson, Peyton Manning. There's a lot of high-end stuff, a lot of better stuff, and then some low-end stuff, and some not no-namers, but just we have like a Buster Douglas glove autographed. Just some cool stuff.
Yeah,
some neat stuff. So niche stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. So if you like different sports things or you like memorabilia, you ought to come in now because we have a ton of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you said y'all are going to be starting work on the expansion
November 1st.
November 1st.
Yeah,
so,
we should have our sign up
like
on
the next time you come, essentially.
Yeah,
I think that's what it feels like.
If we don't die in the heat first.
I think that's when my trick knee from the war is going to kick in.
Exactly.
Even though I wasn't in a war, I think I'm going to call in those days off. But
I'd be curious. Well, actually, you guys were in Pittsburgh and got to go to that game, and Dr. Sharon Simpson mentioned on here, and you told us during the break, too, that was their first ever MLB game. So how cool was that?
It was very exciting. We got to, the ANA put on a special thing where they said it was the rooftop. Well, it really wasn't the roof, but it was a nice flat surface that was just above the first and second levels out in left field. And they were serving food, a few drinks. You could get beer year or something like that. Had bathrooms up there, and it was just private for us. Had seats we could sit in, snacks, whatever you wanted, and it was a really cool deal. So myself and Sharon and also two of our employees, Kate and Chad, we all got to go. And that was a lot of fun, and it was neat. It wasn't, I don't think it was Kate's first game, but it might have been, because she knows very little about baseball. And then, of course, Sharon does not know much about baseball either. So, of course, she was asking questions and doing video, and we were telling her about this or telling her about that, and just having a good time. But it was a lot of fun, and they bussed us over there and all that. I think the only part that wasn't as fun was it did rain towards the end.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It did have that little rain delay in it, yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was fantastic, and I can't wait to take her to another game. It'll be fun.
That is awesome, man. Peanuts or Cracker Jacks?
I'm a peanut guy, but of course we did not get any peanuts or Cracker Jacks when we were there. Probably should have, but we did not.
I like it. Typically, so do you have anything else?
Oh, no, that was it for the game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did have like one question I wanted to ask, and I don't know what it was that made me think of this, but this is just not hypothetical, but typically when it comes to people bringing items to PCB Hobby, who normally has the best stories that go along with the item being brought? Would it be sports cards, coins, or TCG? I'm throwing TCG in there.
Yeah, but TCG typically not. And I can give you the, I was going to say, I can give you the answer to that. They're just too new. I mean, you're talking about early 90s, type stuff, and there's not a lot of stories. I do hear a lot of stories of, oh my gosh, my mom threw away my stuff, and they still say those stories.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the coin business has some of the weirdest stories.
Ooh.
This one lady came in, I'll tell you real quick. This one lady came in and she had a gold coin, and she ended up telling me how she had given it to her husband, and her and her husband ended up splitting up. And she was going through a bunch of stuff, and she checked one of his shoes, and he had stuck it down in his shoe.
Oh, I was almost thinking like a penny loafer or something.
Yeah, it's weird. And so she ends up taking this coin out of his shoe, and of course they're separated at the time or gone, from each other. And she's already remarried or getting remarried, and had gotten remarried, and decided she wanted to sell the coin to help her new husband get a boat.
Oh.
So, like I said, there's some stories. Anyways, we set it off, got it certified, and sure enough, we ended up buying the coin for like $1,800 or $2,000, whatever it was. And it was gold. It was just really neat. It was a neat story, but I hear stories like that all the time. Yeah,
that is crazy. And then one more quick hitter for you. Have you noticed an uptick at PCB Hobby, or maybe just at Whatnot, whatever, with soccer cards since Messi has been a part of the MLS?
I'm gonna let Brian weigh in on that. I would say I haven't personally seen an uptick, but actually I have seen a little uptick in sales of soccer boxes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
I don't know that it's necessarily tied with Messi to MLS. Now, as soon as he has cards in MLS products, it will drive MLS products.
Skyrocket, huh?
Great. Well, that and the fact that we're going to host the World Cup.
So
the lead up, the next couple of years, soccer is going to be a great play to be in, because the interest is only going to grow. I remember when the World Cup was here in '94. Mm-hmm. Soccer was huge around that. In fact, the entire forerunner kind of to MLS really started off of the back of '94. So, yeah, it's a big deal. But you're just seeing more and more interest in the Premier League with the way the NBC Sports package covers it, and you have a little more access to, the Spanish leagues and the Italian leagues and things. So there's just more access in general to soccer, and they're making great products, and it's one of the few products that is made across both Topps and Panini.
Well, and that's interesting to say that, because there was a couple things I forgot to say. One of them is actually Garbage Pail Kids are coming out. Topps Garbage Pail Kids. And so the reason why I'm saying that is that it's a little bit on the fringe too, and yet people are very interested and excited about some of those new products.
Well, and what's fun about Garbage Pail Kids, people who are Todd and I's age, which is not that old.
What?
Some of you young people in the shop. It's
Speak
not
for
that
yourself,
old.
Brian.
Exactly. Well, I got a few months on you, but Garbage Pail Kids is nostalgic for us.
Right.
but it's also appealing to new. So it's actually more fun than you would think because it's something that was big in the 80s and has become big again. So
Absolutely, yeah. So come in the shop. We'll have those.
Yeah, and so Lorcana this Friday.
This Friday, Lorcana. And again, some of the releases coming out are going to be some of the new TCGs that are up. Again, we should have pre-orders and release dates on the pre-order pages, number one. And then number two, take a look at some of the new products that are coming out, like we are getting stuff like Star Wars, Garbage Pail Kids, and things like that. And it's interesting stuff. Look, people collect that stuff all the time. So don't think that that's weird or like, why would I want to buy that? You'd be surprised how expensive and how nice some of this stuff is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lorcano, y'all are selling stuff Friday.
Selling this Friday.
And then Monday, August 21st from 6 to 10, or Lorcana release event.
It's our first release event. Yes,
Let's
sir.
go. Big stuff,
big
man.
Stuff.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Tomorrow night. Pokemon Learn to Play on Wednesday starting at 6 o'clock. Friday Night Magic this Friday from 6 to 11. And then the Kids Pokemon Saturday, the Learn to Play League. Yep, that'll start at 8 a.m., man. Great stuff as always. Thanks, Todd, for stopping by, and look forward to chatting with you next Monday. That's Todd Mueller. He's the owner of PCB Hobby. Make sure you go check it out right here, Panama City Beach. We're going to ride to a break. We'll be right back.
Set your alarm clock to wake up with the Coach Hales Show on ESPN Northwest Florida. In-depth local and college sports from expert insiders and a dash of controversy.
Can be deadly.
Weekday mornings 7 to 9.
Nothing says good morning like a drunken human alarm clock.
We're live from the J. Michaels studio.
We all know he loves the Florida Gators, but that's okay.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
I can control the world.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 83 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A chance of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 91. Likely thunderstorms and sprinkles and 91 in the afternoon and evening. 87 and likely thunderstorms and moderate rain with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
With summer winding down and another school year upon us, That Boot Store invites the entire family to shop for the widest selections of Western and work clothing in the area at prices you can afford. Don't forget to drive carefully. The roads will be busy. A reminder from That Boot Store. Open Tuesday through Thursday 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday 9 to 5:30. Next to Billboard Kia on 15th Street, Panama City. And remember, God is good all the time. That Boot Store.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
The Braves are absolutely rolling through the National League with some of the biggest wins and epic moments of the year.
2-2 to Matt, and a rocket to right field. This thing is into orbit. That's on the roof of the Chop House.
Tonight, the Braves are back in town as they brought the Big Apple back with them, facing off against the New York Yankees live from Truist Park.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch at 6:20. On your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN, Northwest Florida.
It moves fast.
Let's go.
The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad. And we've got Bone Crusher in the building with us. Keith Dimmick mentioned earlier he's got Special Olympics down there in Orlando in 2 weeks, or it's going to be the 17th this Saturday and the 18th. I believe just a few weeks ago he was in Pensacola for the Special Olympics, and in bowling he won the gold. So I wouldn't expect anything less from him
Awesome.
Going down to Orlando. That's Keith Dimick, and we'll definitely be having some shout outs for him here on this show and on the Inside Drive. Your Atlanta Braves tonight. First pitch at 6:20, but the coverage starts right after the afternoon underdogs between the New York Yankees and the Atlanta Braves. That should be a good one for you to listen to tonight, Brian, and get that blood pressure boiling for you.
Basement dwellers, New York Yankees.
In other news, this actually happened right before the show started, and I just never got back around to it. Ezekiel Elliott has found himself a home. He's joining the Patriots on a 1-year deal. Basically will end up being the backup to Ramondre Stevenson. And I mean, who knows what, this dynamic could look like. I think this is a good place for Zeke to go and maybe, rebound his career a little bit.
I think it's a perfect setup because where Zeke is so valuable is doing exactly what he did last year, is that sharing the load with a younger running back like he did with Tony Pollard. In fact, I think Pollard's going to struggle a little this year not having Zeke with him.
Have you seen Deuce Vaughn in pads?
Deuce is awesome. Deuce is going to run through people's legs.
Yeah.
Zeke run you over. But I think it's actually a good setup in New England because, look, Stevenson's coming back off an injury, right? If I remember right. I mean,
yeah.
I know Javonte Williams was, but I think Ramondre Stevenson was also injured. It wasn't as severe.
Yeah.
But, so obviously anything you can do to spell that, he seems like a Belichick kind of guy, doesn't Zeke,
Which Zeke, like from Ohio State or after the
just a tough football player.
Yeah.
I think so. So he kind of fits the Patriots mold with that. Look, whoever it's going to be, whether it's Mack or Zappy or Malik Cunningham or whoever it's going to be, you need to take some of the load off of the quarterback. And I think that if you've got kind of a two-headed monster at running back, you're going to do that. Zeke, he's still got a lot to offer. He's just not going to offer 30 carries a game. But for 10 or 12 or 15 touches a game, he's going to be great for you. And he's a much better blocking running back than anyone ever gave him credit for. So I think he fits in that system fairly well, and I think it's a good landing spot for him.
He actually played in all 17 games last year.
I don't know why I was thinking he was hurt. Maybe I've got
it was
him
the year before 2000. Maybe 2021 he played 12 games. He had 133 carries, 606 yards. 2022, 210 carries in 17 games and 1,040 yards, but still both of those seasons he had 5 touchdowns. So I think let Ramondre carry the workload and then have Zeke step in and punch it in from the goal line and from the. I think you can use him in multiple different routes as well. Ramondre is going to be he's huge in the receiving game as well, or even more so last year than what he was in 2021. So that'll also help Zeke out. But yeah, watching Deuce in some of those preseason carries that he had, he kind of is the embodiment or the epitome of Darren Sproles.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch guys like that who look like they have no business being on a football field, much like, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but did you hear about the Saints kicker?
I don't think so.
So let me pull this up real quick just so that I get his name right.
But the other thing about Deuce Vaughn, while you're looking for it, to be that small, to play that game, which again, they say it's not a contact sport, it's a collision sport. Deuce Vaughn's tough as nails.
Yeah, come on.
I like this kid.
Absolutely. So it's Blake Group, and he's like 5'7", 156 pounds or so. He hit the game-winning kick, or actually, let's start back. Right. He and this is his own Twitter. He posted this. He said he got questioned walking onto the field pregame for not having credentials. He's a player. Then he hits the game-winning kick. Then he gets stopped by security thinking that he was a fan when he was trying to walk out to the player exit. So that is absolutely, that's hilarious. I mean, the security stepped their game up for a player, and not too long ago, even though this isn't the same stadium or anything, but the Golden State Warriors had that issue with Big Dolls, I believe is his YouTube name or whatever, going around like Klay Thompson, and got onto the court and everything.
Yeah, well, they have to be careful, but the one that I always loved was at the Super Bowl when Kevin Hart tried to big time his way onto the stage, and they weren't having any part of that. And I loved that.
And he's recognizable.
Yeah, because he didn't want to hear it, and they were like, I don't care who you are. You ain't getting up there. So that was funny. But no, I like it. I like the spot for Zeke. I don't think we're done. I think you're going to start, even without injuries, which unfortunately are coming, I think you're going to start seeing some of these other guys find homes too. So
yeah, still waiting on Kareem Hunt, who had to visit with the Saints before he even stepped on the Saints field. The Colts said, hey, we'll give you more money, and they're in the middle of a dispute with Jonathan Taylor to some extent, who's going to be making his way back to camp this week. So not all hope is lost there in Indianapolis, even though Anthony Richardson didn't have the best debut. But again, we're not sitting here judging these guys' careers off of game one of the preseason.
And I missed a few days, so I may have missed this, but has Dalvin Cook found a home yet?
No, I don't think still out there, and I think the Jets are still the favorite.
He was in the NFL top 100 too, and doesn't have a team.
Right.
That's crazy.
But I think more than anything, it's got to come down to asking price. But look, here's the reality of it. Zeke's getting a $3 million base salary. Mm-hmm. $1 million signing bonus, and it can get up to $6 million with incentives. So if you're these guys who are expecting your $10 million contracts, you're not going to get it.
That's right.
So do whatever you can. Get your agent to do the best that he can do for you to get those that incentive side of things. So sign a $5 million deal, sign a $3 million deal, i.e. Zeke here, and then try to double it up with incentives. If you have a good enough year, you're going to be able to catapult that into 2023.
It's true. The only problem with incentive-laden deals as they go,
injuries.
Well, it's not even that. Ooh. It's the fact that it can create strife within a team about touches, opportunities. You didn't put me in on the short yardage here, and that cost me money.
True.
I mean, there's a lot to play in that. I think, obviously you don't want to incentivize a guy to try and play through injury, but the availability incentive would be great too. Like, look, if you're available for us all 17 weeks, there'll be a X bonus here or something like that. I mean, everything's got its own issue where it can be abused or run afoul, but
I always forget about that one because I'm a huge proponent of incentive based contracts. That should be the direction that all these teams are going. But then you bring the manipulation that these teams can do. It's like Major League Baseball with the service time and everything. They can manipulate it to where they're getting more out of you for essentially less money.
Sure, and it really doesn't ever come down to the GM's not calling down to the field and saying, don't put Zeke in on the goal line to save us, $100,000 or something. But what's happening is if for some reason Ramondre goes in and does that, Zeke's going to think that's money I could have made. Mm-hmm. I need. You
don't think there's ever,
and it starts. I don't believe.
You don't believe it's a call from the general manager to the coach, but you don't think that they could possibly, and we're speculating here, have conversations before Tuesday or Wednesday where it's if we're in this position and we're losing the game, or
not anymore. Okay. And here's why I say that, because the money is not made in pro franchises anymore on the day-to-day operations, P&L, anything. The money is made in pro franchises in the buying and selling of the organizations. They all carry loads of debt. Mm-hmm. None of them are making money year over year. What they're doing is they're making tons of money on the sale. And so I think in the old days where you had some owners who were trying to pinch pennies and things like that. Of course, the players were having to get jobs in the offseason back then. Do I think that could have happened and probably did happen? Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I don't think so anymore. I don't think you're talking about money that's significant enough. Like the old story with the Black Sox in baseball, a lot of the reason so many of the players went around is because Charlie Comiskey was so cheap on different things that he would bench them for 2 weeks so they couldn't get their 30th win. I think that was the case with Ed Seacott. So there's a lot of those stories from the past, but I think the dynamics economically are different, that I doubt that happens. But it's still going to be an issue for the players.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on a low base, high incentive contract. You're going to want to get, and that destabilizes your locker room, even in the best of circumstances.
And the Patriots locker room cannot really afford to be befuddled with at this point.
No, we need to find out right now if it was Mac Jones or if it was Matt Patricia. And we're going to find out pretty soon.
Well, are we, though? I guess to an extent we will, but we never. Do you feel like we ever got...
If the same issues exist with Mac Jones'
then it's a Mac Jones
personality, it's a Mac Jones thing.
And the only reason I even question that, because I'm with you, I do think that we're going to get an answer from that, and I don't think it's going to take 8 games. games. But I still don't feel like we ever got a true, legitimate answer from was it Bill or was it Tom? Because I think it was a mixture of both of those.
That was
and
just a perfect scenario.
Perfect storm.
I think so. I think when you had Tom and you had the good offensive minds that he was with, they kind of did their thing, and Bill had the perfect team construction around a Tom Brady-led team. You know, the thing that the Patriots did so well in that run that they had was they found the guys who could give you the most, who nobody else saw anything in. Mm-hmm. They would bring in the journeyman vets who they could get great stuff out of. And they did that better than anybody.
Yeah.
It's like mid-90s Yankees. You had the core 4, the core 5, but you augmented it with the Jim Leyritzes and Scott Brocious and the Chuck Knoblauchs, who was past his prime, and, you know, guys like that, who Paul O'Neill's.
And that's such
Tino
a hard
Martinez.
blueprint to hit on.
You find the right guy for the right spot at the right time who is just and especially with a hard cap, is just a value play. The Patriots did that better than anybody in that time frame, and you know that's why they were so good.
Do you think we're going to get a lot of that this year? Bailey Zappi, of course, the Zappi and Mac Jones. I think that argument or that conversation, that debate is going to dominate for the first 4 weeks until maybe we get that better answer of Mac Jones or Matt Patricia, if you will. But then also with you mentioned it when we were starting the show, the emergence of Malik Cunningham.
The issue is going to be with Mac Jones, not so much as play, because that can fluctuate.
So the attitude.
It's his attitude.
Okay.
It's how is he in the locker room, because his issues theoretically with Patricia really led to him making a lot of bad leadership moves within that organization. And what we're going to find out rather quickly is, was that Mac all along, or was that Mac having to deal with a tough situation that's no longer there? Mm-hmm. That's where you're going to see it, is in the locker room, less than on the field. Now, we'll see. I mean, obviously, he's still got to produce on the field, but you know, the Zappi thing is the Zappi thing. The backup quarterback is almost always the most popular person because they're the guy who's seen as he should be in the game, and they never have to account for anything until they do, and then they're not that popular anymore.
Great stuff as always, Coach Haddad. That's going to do it for us this afternoon. You've got the Coach James Hill Show going to be live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., hosted by Coach Brian Haddad. Then the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow at 4. Your Atlanta Braves are coming up next.
I'm just sleeping here.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, the Atlanta Braves take on the hated New York Yankees at Truist Park. Max Fried comes in at 4-1 with a 2.5 ERA to face Yankee starter Clark Schmidt, who is 8-6 on the year with a 4.23 ERA. Cover starts at 6. First pitch at 6:20. Right here on the home of the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 83 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A chance of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 91. Likely thunderstorms and sprinkles in 91 in the afternoon and evening. 87 and likely thunderstorms and moderate rain with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Barbaritos lets you say yes to fresh. If you don't know what to eat or where to get it, well, fret no more. Barbaritos is here to help with its healthy menu, offering 7 meals with less than 500 calories. Barbaritos has lots of healthy options made with farm fresh food. Your